So I am talking with Frances Danger, and she is a member of SPIRIT, which is the Society to Protect Indigenous Rights and Indigenous Treaties. Could you give us just an overall view of what that group is and what they do, and how they are made up and who they represent?
Well, I represent all Indigenous people. SPIRIT is a coalition of people that seek to expand educational opportunities in terms of the history and the modernization of Indigenous peoples,
Mm-hmm.
the honoring of the treaties, what exactly happened with our removal, and things like that. Basically, rewriting history to be truthful.
Mm-hmm. And how many members make up the group?
I am fairly new.
Uh-huh.
Brenda Golden is the one who really does run it, and she reached out to me because we are friends on Facebook, and I've been very outspoken about the statues, Confederate statues, and the statues of Columbus being removed. And I made an offhand comment that I was coming for the Land Run Monument next. And she reached out to me about this protest, about this peaceful protest,
Mm-hmm.
this sit-in, to really draw attention to the fact that we've been erased from the history of the Land Run. It was the westward expansion that resulted in our removal that brought us here,
Mm-hmm.
and that's part of that history. So
Sure. Can you tell us a little bit about this demonstration, this peaceful gathering that's being planned, and just the basic, like you can start with the basic, like who, what, when, where's, and then we'll kind of dive in a little bit into more of that, like the political side and the historical importance of it.
well, it's put on my spirit, and we have partnered with Black Lives Matter. We have had several people come on board. The ACLU is supportive of us, WAR, which is Whites Against Racism. Several other allies have come in to support us on this because it's such an important issue for us.
Yeah. And the event that you're planning right now, I'm kind of looking over the social media page. So if anybody's wanting to kind of learn more about the group, Spirit Group, it says that on July 11th from, I believe, is it 10 to 5?
Yes.
And where are they meeting at?
We will be meeting at the Centennial Monument. It is public land. We do have a permit that we applied for today. You will need to park in where Bass Pro Shops is, which is just a stone's throw from the memorial.
Okay. And what's the plan like that? Like, what's the atmosphere plan to be like? What can you talk about? Are there going to be any speakers, music, drummers, things like that?
We are encouraging people to bring their drums, show up and make noise, be heard. We are lining up speakers right now. We have reached out to several people and they've expressed interest. We're just trying to coordinate it all. This was supposed to be, what we thought to be a fairly small demonstration, and it has grown in a way that we're not used to as Indigenous people. We're used to not being heard and erased and silenced, and so the response has been overwhelming, and it's amazing. It's really great to see.
Good. Have you guys ran into any barriers as you're planning this event? I hear that you've gotten your permit today, so it seems like from the planning and implementation side that you guys are permitted and everything's running smooth. Any other kind of problems you're having? Any issues on social media? Anyone kind of from an opposite opinion or standpoint giving you any hard time or anything like that?
There will be a counter protest, which we welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone should have a voice. Everyone should have their right to be heard. We do want to let people know that this is completely a peaceful sit-in.
Mm-hmm.
We have no plans to deface or defile or topple or even tap that memorial.
Right.
Unfortunately, there has been not like a miscommunication in terms of what we were wanting to do.
Right.
And there's been a counter protest, and these counter protesters are very adamant about wanting to protect the statue to the point that they are going to be armed.
Okay.
And yeah, that's a concern. We have been in contact with the person who started the counter protest, and we are currently working to meet in the middle, because neither side wants this to escalate. We want it to be peaceful. We just want to be heard. To that end, we actually have a meeting with Mayor Holt next week after the protest. We're not going to hurt the memorial and then present ourselves to a government official. It's just not, it's not smart. And so we're hoping that we can reach, consensus on how to handle this. I can tell you that we have security that we are going to have in place. We are confident that we can get this to a place where everybody understands each other and nothing is going to explode.
Good. What does that do to the mindset when you're talking about, hey, we're trying to have this get together, and then another party, whether they agree or don't agree, even if, I mean, does that like kind of do anything to the mindset to know that folks care so much that they're willing to perform their own functions as their own police force, so to speak? Has that affected anybody's, willingness to attend? Or
we have had people inquire about security, but since the media coverage of the counter protest, this thing has ballooned for us. People want to be there. They understand that this is important, and because of the reaction, how important this is. I mean, again, as Indigenous people, we are used to being silenced and erased. Our stories are gone from history.
Right.
This is just another way of silencing our voices. It is actually an example of the things that we're fighting against.
I think we have a friend trying to join. Do you know Kendra Clements?
Absolutely.
Okay,
She is one of the co-organizers.
Hello.
Hey, Kendra. How are
Hi.
you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I was going to give you a moment to kind of introduce yourself. We were getting into it a little bit and chatting just a bit. Can you tell me your name and who you are and what you're representing?
Sure.
I'll give you time to get settled too.
Sure. No worries. And I'm sorry I'm about a minute or so late.
No, you're fine.
My name is Kendra Wilson Clements, and I'm a co-founder of Matriarch, and also here supporting Spirit organization as well.
Okay. Francis and I were kind of talking about the knowing the atmosphere, and that there's some folks who might want to bring their arms with them. Like, what does that do to folks who are wanting to attend a peaceful protest? I feel like earlier on, I was seeing some information circulating on social media that this was a family-friendly event. Are you guys worried that could change the atmosphere at all?
Francis, feel free to jump in.
And as I was saying, I mean, we are trying to reach consensus with the counter protesters. No one wants this to be anything other than what it is, a peaceful protest. We just want our voices heard. The people who are wanting to protect the monument believe in freedom of speech. Okay. I do believe that we can reach that consensus, and we have, like I said, we have security in place. But I will say, if people are concerned, they need to take that into account.
Sure. I feel like sometimes when other, organizations haven't really attended very many Native American inspired protests, maybe they don't understand what it's like. because having attended a few, and not, I'm not an expert, but a few, I've never really felt like there was ever an intention for malfeasance. And it almost seems like that's completely the opposite with Native Americans protesting. A lot of the emphasis that I would hear people speak on is about coming from a good place and just kind of speaking your piece. So any thoughts on like how Spirit wants to, project themselves in that manner? Can you speak on that at all?
Yeah, so I may take a stab at that. We are peaceful people, and when we say it's a sit-in, and when we say it's a peaceful protest and a meeting of the minds and an opportunity to gather in community and spread a message and educate the masses, that's what we mean, right? We're peaceful people, and we just want our voices to be heard, and we want our story to be told. And we know that, we're smart enough to know that voices aren't heard when anger inserts the room, right? When anger steps in, it all falls on deaf ears, right? And so, we're there to educate. We're there to gather in community. We're there to draw attention to something that, a piece of history that is a half truth, right? And so, the counter protesting is, it's really unfortunate. But also what's unfortunate is that this is not surprising, right? I don't think any of us were surprised that there would be counter protesting and that it could potentially reach a hostile and or volatile level. And for those who are coming as allies, and for those who are coming as friends and community to support us, certainly be aware that there is a potential for that. I would hope that it doesn't discourage, but I fully understand, especially in the climate right now. Things are things are hot right now. You can feel it. It's like the railroad tracks. So you put your ear up to it, right? You can feel the vibration. You can hear it getting closer and closer. And we recognize that. But I think all in all, we're here to gather. What we would love to have happen, and I think what is happening is first and foremost, I'm thankful for these opportunities to, get our message out, through you and through other outlets and through other media and press release opportunities. It's important, right? Because we get to, face forward. This is what we are. This is why we're going. And so I'm hopeful that these types of interviews are going to get the word out and just reinforce the message that we're there to peacefully have this day, right?
Can you tell me a little bit about Matriarch too? I probably should have asked that in the beginning, and what it is and what it does, who it's made up of.
Sure. So I'm a co-founder in the organization, and the other half of Matriarch is Sarah Adams Cornell. She's the other co-founder. We've been running Matriarch since about November of 2015, so going on 5 years now. And essentially what our mission is to help provide direct services and resources to Native women and our babies in our communities. We've got about 100 members, 2 chapters, one in Oklahoma City and one in Tulsa. And it seems that each year we're just, increasing our membership, increasing interest, and really making good movement in the direction to help our mamas, who in turn help babies, who in turn help community, right? Sure. And so that's a little bit about who we are.
I wanted to ask either or both of you ladies to kind of give me your insights on the fact that we even have a sculpture portraying this.
With regard to these statues and these monuments, and the fact that it is just portraying what appears to be very jovial, white folks on horses who are coming to this new land, and they're, yipping and yaheeing and all of that stuff, excited to get to this new land, this new life, this new opportunity. And that's the only story that you tell. That's the only thing that you see here, which is intentional, right? Across the country, which, by the way, I'm celebrating the fact that California removed their statue of Columbus today.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing that stuff happening across the country. But those statues are symbols of racism and oppression. And they are, quite frankly, used as intimidation, as putting us in our place and keeping us in our place. Don't ever forget that these gigantic statues, don't forget about that, right? Like a lot of finger wagging and putting us back in our place. And so this monstrosity of a monument, this land run monument, it's intentional. It's also what we see around the country. It's a part of the system of oppression, right? It just continues to breed the thought that white supremacy is at the top, right? And there are statues which are like deities that are praised, and photos are taken. People are posing by it, and it's just it's worn out, though, right? Like, we're tired of it, and I think that we're starting to see that across the country with these statues being removed. And for the record, we can't possibly. It would take the National Guard and several small tanks to remove the statues that this militia feels like they need to go out and protect, which kind of suggests to me that they haven't even seen it, right?
Right. Yeah, they're pretty huge, and there's like 48, or there's several separate, bronze statues. It's a big deal. I have a question, and this is kind of my zinger question, so forgive me if this takes you by surprise, but what are your thoughts knowing that this monument was created by a Native American?
Deep breath.
If I can speak to that just really quickly.
Please.
I was shocked at first. But then again, as the quote goes, Custer had scouts. But I'm Native Scouts, but I'm going to back away from that, because I will say this. At the 2007 protest of this monument, Paul Moore, the sculptor, was quoted as saying, everybody can feel how they want to feel about this, and they can protest how they want to protest about this. So he in no way is trying to silence his own people. I think that if he were given the opportunity to create another Indigenous monument for us, he would do so gladly. I just want to see the update. I want to see our story told. I want us to be heard. And that's part of why we're here. We want to educate people. We want to let them know that there's a whole other history out there that is untold. When I see that land run monument, I hear the voices of my ancestors. I hear them, and they're not being heard. And I'm tired of that. I want to honor them. My voice needs to be heard. I need to change that for my daughter and for our kids and for our grandkids. And that's what I'm doing.
Sure. Is there any certain outcome that, I know you've mentioned that they're set to talk with, some officials after the demonstration. Is there some goal in mind when it comes to the demonstration beyond just educating? What is there any kind of lobby maybe our state and ask that they consider altering or taking it off or anything like that? Is there an end game or an end goal?
Our ultimate goal is removal. I mean, however, we're not unreasonable. We can compromise. The main goal is education. If they're willing to work with us on getting a monument up to, Indigenous peoples, telling our side of the story, updating the literature, updating the plaque, which does not mention us right now, creating a curriculum statewide that tells this actual history of what happened. We're really pushing the education piece. It's like I said, our voices are not heard right now. We want to be heard, and we want it to be truthful.
Awesome. Awesome. Anything I've left out that you ladies would like to add to the conversation so that we can make sure and include it?
I think that, there's been a lot of talk in our Black and brown circles, especially as of late with this, Black Lives Matter movement, the attention that this is, it's the light that's shining on America right now. It's kind of our dirty secret, which is the level at which racism is inbred in our beings here, in our fiber in this country. And so, we've got our white allies that are sticking their heads up everywhere and raising their hands saying, how can I help? How can I help? And what we're saying and how we're responding is come with us, right? Put your bodies in front of us. If we've got agitators and instigators and militia people on the other side, stand in between us, be that buffer, be that ally. You say you want to be that ally, then show us, help us, because we are asking for that help. We know that perhaps in this situation, as it relates to gun-toting folks and militia folks, maybe our best defense is our white allies at this point, putting their bodies in front of us, being that buffer. And so that's one thing I would love to ask. I've been contacted by several white folks, right? Just saying, how can I help? What you? I'm delivering this same message. I was in a leadership meeting today with a room full of white executives saying, how can I help? I passed along that message, and I believe I will see a couple of them there because they truly mean what they say. And so I think it's the allyship, number one, and number two, it is, we'll be meeting with the mayor next week to talk with him about, the things that we're asking for, and how we can, number one, have some recognition, number two, have some education, because that is really, to Francis's point, that's what we're pushing for, right? I didn't get this stuff in school. I was lied to in elementary school too. I had land runs, right? Reenactments in elementary.
Yeah,
crazy.
I was the one native.
I remember the school pictures where they brought the land run background to the school.
Yeah.
And my grandma has this in an album, and I'm like looking at this and I'm like horrified, like, now, and like that.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a need for it. And it's interesting that technique that you're mentioning is really interesting, because I'm seeing that playing out as I'm watching live feeds of protests across the nation. Is our journalists who are identifiably Native are pairing up with like journalists like me who can pass, and or white journalists who can help, and it helps them to protect themselves, and the like the military or the police to identify them as being journalists, because a lot of times they would just lump them into a category and treat them a certain way. So there's definitely something to that, and I appreciate you ladies' time so much, and I hope that we have some good coverage and hope that people learn a lot. So